Hi everyone, my name is Katie Burke, and in today's video I'm going to be diving into the topic of working with the dark goddess. Now I'm talking about a very divine spirit. This is not something to truly, if you're in your sovereign power, connected to your higher self on this path of ascension and wanting to better yourself and enlightenment, then I don't think that there is a way around working with the dark goddess or encounters with the energy that I'm referring to, which is this really fiery sensation. There's actually not a lot of really solid training out there. There's some, and I've been really blessed to have worked personally many times with Kaya Ra, who's the author of the Sophia Code. I've mentioned that in other videos. I just adore the work that she's putting into the world and her creations. I think that they come from a really pure place. I was really fortunate to gather with her and a small group of women, and this was years ago now, nearly 2 years ago, and we were working with a lot of the Christ energies, and one of the events there was, or one of the evenings was really dedicated to allowing ourselves to journey into that underbelly of the divine feminine and or of the awakening that is happening. So it's really important to just be very conscious that you are choosing to do your healing work when this energy is invoked. I wouldn't call on this energy unless you truly are really ready to walk through that fire, which isn't the same as a walk in the park. This is a lot of really deep inner work that can bring up extreme emotional changes and experiences. Very, very troubling things can arise. And I don't say that to invoke fear at all. I say that to just invoke a sense of empowerment to support yourself in that process. What I've found though is that the dark goddess doesn't always necessarily come to me when I'm deep into shadow work or deep into my feelings. I've certainly, since moving to Sedona especially, I have gotten to know the energy of what I'm just calling the dark goddess. It's come to me in a few different names and forms, but for the sake of this video, we're just going to work under the umbrella term of the dark goddess, of the goddess that keeps you in check, the goddess that keeps you in your truth. And that is what she truly is divine at doing. So that is the kernel of truth that I have found in how deeply I can appreciate the dark goddess and the way that she can sort of move through me and through my life to express emotions that have been very stagnant, that have been just kind of festering within me for many years, things that I want or should have said in a moment, and I wish I could go back and express things. There will be situations that will arise where I'll be able to balance that out with myself and come back into my power, into my sovereign power. And that is what the dark goddess is always trying to help you do, is to click things into place so that you can get really, really honest with yourself. Of course, there are other energies that keep us very honest with ourselves, but this is when there's an honesty or a truth about ourselves that we just haven't been looking at or we've been avoiding. And then, the dark goddess comes in with like her wrathful love. It comes from a place of like loving your soul, loving your highest potential so much that she's going to assist in burning the path to make it really, really clear on where we're going to go next. Super clear. Sometimes there might be a big breakup that happens. There might just be a big event that happens in your life, and there was a little bit of that dark goddess energy sort of working its way into it, and that is all for the purpose of keeping us really honest and true to what our actual highest potential is. And it's taken me a lot of humility to actually come into a very good relationship with the dark goddess. I will say too, I have always been someone, and I think that there's a collective of us that are here right now who I've always been able to bring this energy through me very quickly and very directly and cutting straight to the truth. We'll just say it that way, cutting straight to the heart of the truth and not really wasting any time with circling around with other things, just cutting right deep to the heart of the matter. And it's very piercing at times. And this is something that I've always felt so ashamed of. And this relates to the dark goddess in a way of where it's just that unapologetic truth that can really, just like breathing those dragon flames of truth into your life. So I've started to really appreciate this connection to the dark goddess and to this sense of destruction in a holy and sacred way, in a way that preserves the sacredness of my life and of the life of my brothers and sisters. I wanted to share a bit more about her so that you guys, if that's happening to you and you just feel, work with it. Work with the circumstances that are aligning, and know that it's always in partnership with your higher self. This is not an energy that is outside of you. This is not an energy that is separate from you. Of course not. And the more comfortable we can become with that fiery energy of the dark goddess, really, allowing her to burn things down in a really holy way. It's also worth mentioning and re-emphasizing that this is only something that sort of comes through me a few times a year. This is not an energy that I prefer to be sitting with all the time, as really transformative as the dark goddess is, and how she's of service of that way. This isn't like a preferred energy to be in all the time, and there can be like a bit of seduction of like how much power that dark goddess energy really has. And just to be so conscious and so mindful, especially for those of you who, and all of you are channels, we are all channels, but if you're someone who's consciously communicating with other dimensional beings, this is just one to be really having that like witnesses and support systems around. Another thing worth noting about working with the dark goddess in a very conscious way, working with this energy of fire and transformation that comes with her, is that what I have found is today I'm sitting in front of my large altar in front of my office. I really surround myself with a lot of support and coming back to what it is that I know, because once you are so connected to what it is that you know to be the truth with a capital T, working with the dark goddess is way easier, because you can't be fooled. You know that she's coming in a helpful way and really alchemizing alongside with you. And there can be this really like colors of red and black and even like in sparkles of gold that I really see when this energy approaches. And there's a lot of like really beautiful primalness about it as well, like almost like the animal side of being human, which we've been so domesticated away from. But she really comes in to help remind me about my primal nature and how that is so a part of, this ascension process as well, is that we wanted to bridge that. We wanted to bridge this really gorgeous primal animal that is a human and bridge it into a super high consciousness. And that's a really cool experience, you guys. That's a really sacred thing that we're doing here. The dark goddess has really assisted me with and that's a lot of lower energy centers that recently that have really been clearing for me to connect to that wildness that is in me and that is in all people, and how that's okay. It's okay to be that, as well as this incredibly highly conscious being. Some of the things that I've, in my experience on my journey, that have been very helpful for me is when I feel that there's this transformation in dark goddess energy happening, I really take care of my altar spaces. I have a really strong personal practice to creating altars in my home. And if you're someone that maybe gets really fussy about the way the table is set, or just the way that a gallery looks on your wall, and you have this eye for geometry, that might be part of your magic as well. And part of what is very much amplified in your presence are the sacred geometries that you make around you. So I have a lot of sacred geometries physically, but then also in the way that things are laid out in my altar spaces. And this has been incredibly supportive for me all through my journey. I should do a post on Instagram with my many different variations of altars that I've had in the past few years. I'm constantly changing them and refreshing them and helping them match the energy of what I need. I've always it's just come to my conscious awareness that the reason that I'm changing them so often is because I'm on a journey, and so are you. So that altar practice, and it really physicalizes. It really brings the practice that I'm doing into a physical space, and it's these visual triggers are very important to my physical life, my life. These altars are just a really they're an anchor for me to come and sit and receive from, and especially if you are someone who is I'll just say across the board, I think everybody should have them. I think everybody should have this space where you sit down and you can receive. And that is very much what altars are about. So as you might be working with the dark goddess, there is definitely just, make sure you're receiving. Make sure you're receiving things that are really, really filling you. Because it can feel a little bit depleting sometimes after, especially as you're starting out working with the dark goddess and just her fieriness. It can feel a little bit depleting sometimes, and that's really just your nervous system getting stronger and more built up for what's coming in the future. The other thing is that when I am working with the dark goddess, there is such an alignment that I feel. I don't feel terror. I don't feel abandonment or I'm very conscious of the whole process of what is transmuting, and at a higher level, even if in my physical body might be feeling some shifting and just some signals that I'm getting, but I'm not in a place of fear. There is a place of certainty and empowerment. Even if there's a lot of anger or just a lot of emotions that are moving through me, there's still a very much divine connection to, this is also who I am. This is also who I am. This is also who I am. And it's very much, we can look to the rose as a beautiful teacher of the dark goddess, actually. And so many times, of course, we're focused on her beautiful blooms, and when we first meet her, of course, that's where we're looking, and all of us have that rose energy emitting from our heart. But not too far back, we have the very protective thorns that are protecting that sacred heart. That is truly what the dark energy, if you need a physical example of the dark goddess, it's those thorns on the rose. It's such a perfect example. It's the part of us that really establishes very intentional boundaries and keeps everything, keeps that blossom very safe. Again, as I said at the beginning of this video, that's truly the heart of the dark goddess is wanting to keep you safe, and by safe, what I mean is in your truth and what it is that the truth of who you are. And that's a big job. That's a big energy there, right? It can actually like physicalize in a very real way. And when I say physicalize, what I mean is that it can manifest into physical events in your life. It can manifest into physical events in your life. That's what that means. There's situations and things that this energy can work through to really help things come into that pure alignment really, really quickly. And it's a humbling thing, you guys. It's humbling to work with this energy of sort of like that correction, right? That like being on that course of like kind of like always like looking at yourself and being like, okay, yeah, I see what I just did there. I don't love that. Okay, and moving through that, it's like a humbling thing, and not humble in a weird way, but like humbled in a like, wow, I feel so grateful and empowered and humbled in this moment. And there's a lot of clarity in that moment as well. So these are some of, in my experience, just some of the feelings that come up like immediately after that kind of initiation with the dark goddess. And sometimes they're much bigger than others, and but it always has a divine quality to it, like a divine humility, a divine transmutation. And there's not suffering for the sake of suffering ever. That's not at all what I'm talking about. Something as I'm sitting here and I'm just reflecting and listening and seeing, what did I leave out? And the message that I'm hearing is just to re-emphasize the appropriateness of any sort of like feelings that come up as you are working through things, and how important it is to like get that physically out of you. And this can happen through yelling, and but it takes usually like a big sort of like pop or bang for this. Sometimes it's very rageful. This tightness that the dark goddess she wants to come in and like unravel, kind of like vortex it out, right, and dissipate it out of our field. And in that process of it like moving through us, it can be really helpful to assist that with physical movement, with dancing, with just jumping up and down, but or yelling the things that need to be said. This is such an important aspect of being willing to physically feel and to physically scream or shout and dance, or if you need to, like within a safe environment, break something, like consciously, not like reactively, but just that way that energy moves really through you. Okay, it's not like this has never been for me something that I'm sitting around and I'm like, that's actually not true. Sometimes you can do this while you're just sitting there and breathing, but there's going to be other times where it's really important to physically move, and as often as possible to physically move. But if there's been just those like smaller moments of like dark goddess coming in and adjusting things, you can definitely like fire breathe your way through that. This is an energy that, for those of us who are called to work in partnership with this energy, it's really empowering. It is really, really powerful, empowering, in the end, enlightening, and through the process, very enlightening. I almost fall short of words to speak to the sacredness of the dark goddess, the just critical part that she can play in our lives, because there's so much love behind her. There's so much love behind her. It is fierce. It is fierce love for humanity, for you and for all of humanity. It is some of the most powerful love that I feel on the other side of her movement. It's just sacred. It's just absolutely sacred. And one of the most profound loves I've ever felt, to be held so strongly, you know. So it's just such a powerful, you know, I'll just leave it at that. Such a powerful spirit, and I feel really grateful for to where I'm at this point, for how far I've gone and decided to keep getting up and keep getting up after feeling so knocked down with this work, but really just so, you know, frankly, very proud of myself and for any of you on this path at this point, because it does take a lot of courage after working with some of these more intense energies to want to step back up to the plate. So there's a lot of fear that comes up, there's a lot of doubt that comes up, and I just want to honor all of you who are watching for really exploring some of these ideas alongside with me, because it is, you know, sometimes frankly, it's not that I feel wrong about it, but it can just be a little bit lonely to be talking about so many non-physical things and how we can really ground that into our physical experience, into our lower energy centers experience in this transition to a higher state of consciousness. I would really love for you to comment below anything that you feel called to share about the Dark Goddess, the reverence that I believe that this goddess deserves, because after working with her, as I've said, it's just the humility and gratefulness is, there aren't really words sometimes for it. It's that space of speechlessness it's profound. So I have a lot of reverence and respect, and would only do a video about the Dark Goddess in front of this altar, and the sun is, that fire, it's just burnt, it's beating in. So perfect for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please comment below if this video resonated with you, if you have stories that you want to share. This is something that occasionally comes up, or you know, there's a transmission in my mastery mentorship sessions, and not always, but it depends on the client, depends on the situation. If we're ready for that, you guys can explore the mastery mentorship on my website. It's katieburke.co. I'll put a link in the description box so you guys can explore my offerings and the mastery mentorship, working with ascended masters, and you know, all the things that I love doing. It's so beautiful to connect with you. I hope you are subscribed, and please ring the bell. I have some future videos coming up with other women, and we're going to be diving into this topic with, you know, I'm just so excited, with like a lot of excitement and a lot of embodiment. So that's coming, and I want you guys to ring the bell so that you don't miss that. Those will be out soon, so you guys will know when those premiere. Thank you so much for being here. From my heart to yours, have a very blessed day.